I'm preparing for government exams. I know I should be reading a newspaper. Now, which newspaper should I read? This is Stand-Up Course Study. Stay tuned to know more. Newspaper reading is one of the most important part of preparing for any competitive exam. Yet, it is a habit that is not really common among students. The first doubt that most students have is which newspaper should they be reading? In order to answer that, we should first understand why we are reading a newspaper. I have covered that in detail in my earlier video linked above. Now before I start, I must clarify that I am not being sponsored by any newspaper brand, and the following is my personal opinion based on my personal experiences. Choosing a newspaper to read. An overlooked fact is that English has the same weightage as general awareness or general knowledge in most competitive exam syllabus. So it is very important that you spend sufficient time on improving your English. As mentioned in my earlier video, newspaper reading is focused at improving our ability to answer questions asked in the question paper. So it is important that the newspaper should cover national news in detail. Now, almost all newspaper does this to a good degree, but as aspirants, what we need are the details and the nuances. Further, the newspaper should help us improve our reading speed. Since the question paper is in English, it is important that we read an English newspaper to improve our reading speed. This eliminates most vernacular newspapers for regular reading. However, do check the exam syllabus if there is a paper in a regional language. State PSC exams and civil service exams do, and if so, reading a vernacular newspaper once a week will help you work on the same. All things considered, the most recommended newspaper for aspirants is The Hindu. Yes, I know there are students out there who are not yet comfortable with English and will find The Hindu a bit overwhelming. In that case, I would recommend you start with a Deccan Chronicle or even the Indian Express so that you get used to reading English regularly. However, this is only a stopgap solution as you should quickly move on to reading The Hindu within a month at most. Now, how to efficiently read The Hindu? By efficiently, I mean in the minimum possible time. Look for keywords in the headlines. What are keywords? Well, government, Prime Minister, Finance Minister, Supreme Court, High Court, etc. are good examples of keywords which could have news you can use. These news will almost always be linked to your polity and current affairs topics and adds value to your basics. Avoid reading news related to political parties and leaders as this has a very poor likelihood to be asked in a question paper. Regional news can also be bypassed. Why? Because most of the regional news of national importance will be covered in the editorial pages, which brings us to read the editorial. The Hindu editorial is a true treasure trove for an aspirant. Any local or international news worth having the national attention is likely to be discussed here. The editorial usually has two sections, one with a small article and the one with the big article. The two small articles are usually around 150 words. This is a likely length of any answer you will write in a civil service examination. So reading this is the best way to frame an answer during the examination. Further, reading speeds for comprehension questions can be best practiced reading these small articles. The big article lets you understand the structure of writing an essay while providing you a detailed understanding of the issue concerned. Editorial also helps you improve your vocabulary. This is also where you should consider note preparation as it is almost impossible for us to track more than 300 editorial pages that comes every year. Read the stats. Make sure you go through the statistics usually provided in the opinion page. This is a quick data interpretation exercise and makes you familiar with various types of graphs and how to best interpret them. Finally, if you have the time to, you can read the business or the sports pages for some extra reading practice. There is usually one question that comes from sports, while the business area helps you revise the topics that you learned in economics. Make sure you look up and do further reading on the topics you did not fully understand while reading the newspaper and get your basics right. On the topic, you could also try attempting the Sudoku as a warm-up for your brain before you start your daily studies. Just make sure you're not spending too much time on it. Finally, always make sure you keep your newspaper intact and neatly tucked. This helps you go back to the newspaper and read it again if you need to. A newspaper that is left messy is something that you will likely not return to, and you will not likely read that newspaper again. So always make sure you neatly fold the newspaper and keep it intact. This video is targeted at students preparing for government exam. If you are preparing to attend interviews, there are other newspapers you should be reading. Do you agree with these points, or do you think there are other points that should have been included here? Do comment below. Please like if you found the video helpful and subscribe for more such videos. This is Stand Up Co Study signing off.